Welcome to Study Time, a televised home learning program produced by Rwanda Basic Education Board.
Welcome learners to TV learning programs. Hope you're very fine. And I'm Teacher Julius. Today I'm going to learn with senior 3 students, and we are going to learn entrepreneurship, Unit 5, where we have sectors of production. And our lesson of today, we shall talk about the secondary sector of production. In the previous lesson, learners, you remember, we talked about, in the previous lesson, that's when we started our sectors of production, this unit number 5, whereby we said we have 3 major sectors of production, where we have the first one as primary sector of production, where we said we have the primary sector of production, the primary sector. Then we have also the secondary sector, and we have the tertiary sector of production. We defined production. We started by defining what production is. So what did we say? Who can remind us what production is? Someone tell us what we said that production is. Yeah, we said that production is the creation of goods and services to satisfy human wants, to satisfy human needs. That is what we call production. That's what we call production. Then we talked about the primary sector of production, where we said that the primary sector of production, who knows what we talked about? Who remembers? Learners, senior 3, tell me, what did we talk about the primary sector of production? Someone who still remembers can let us know, can tell us. Yes, we said that the primary sector of production deals with extraction of raw materials, the natural resources, the extraction of raw materials, or the natural resources. This can be from the earth, from the ground. For example, under primary sector production, we have mining, which deals with extraction of minerals. We talked about under primary sector of production, we have like fishing, the process of catching fish from water bodies. We have like plantation farming. We have crop farming, livestock farming. All those ones, we found them under the primary sector of production, which deals with extraction of raw materials. We continue and talked about the importance of this sector of production to the development. The primary sector of production is very important to the economic development or to any country, where we said it provides employment opportunities to people who work there, where we said it widens the tax base of the country, where we said it improves standards of living after getting jobs. The standards of living of people improves or increases. So here now we come to the sector number 2, which is the secondary sector of production. So what does this one now deal with? The secondary sector of production. So this secondary sector of production, for it deals with transformation of raw materials from the primary sector into finished products. So you can say that the secondary sector of production, this sector involves the transformation. It involves the transformation of raw materials. The raw materials. These raw materials, remember, are extracted from the primary sector. So it involves the transformation of raw materials into finished products ready for consumption. Ready for consumption, into finished products ready for consumption. So the secondary sector deals with this, transforming the other raw materials extracted from primary sector into finished products. For example, if maybe from the primary sector production, we have livestock farming, we have raw materials like milk, like hides. So milk can be processed into finished product like yogurt, which is ready for consumption. You get my point? Milk can be gotten from livestock farming. That is primary sector production. And this milk, we process it, we transform it into yogurt, into ghee. And there it is ready for consumption, as we are going to talk about this. So what does this secondary sector production involve? It involves majorly four items that we are going to examine here. One, we have, so it involves, or it consists of, it involves, so one, we have to talk about what we call agropastoral industry. It has agropastoral industry. So what does this one deal with, agropastoral industry? So this one, it involves transforming animal products into finished products, like milk. So this involves transforming, this industry involves transforming animal products into finished products, And what could be these raw materials from animals? E.g., you can say transforming, e.g., milk, these raw materials, examples of these raw materials from animals, examples of products from raw materials, rather from animals, include, we can have milk, we can have hides and skins, we can even have horns. So all these ones can be transformed into finished products. So these ones can be transformed into finished products. So horns and these can be transformed into finished products. And these can be processed into finished products. Can be transformed or can be processed into finished what? Into finished products. Are we together? And we have examples of agro-pastoral industries in Rwanda. We have like Inyanje, examples of these. Inyanje industry, it transforms milk into finished products like yogurt. We have Nyirangarama industry. It also transforms some milk products into yogurts, into some finished products. So examples of agro-pastoral industries that we have in Rwanda, we can give an example of Inyanje industries, we can give an example of Nyirangarama factories or industries, because they transform some animal products into finished products. That is at secondary sector of production. Remember, you must know that with this secondary, we have said it deals with transforming raw materials that are extracted from primary sector production into finished products ready for consumption. Whereby under this secondary sector production, we have this agropastoral industry, transforming animal products into finished products. Examples of such products, milk, hides, horns, these can be processed into finished what? Into finished products. So these are raw materials from that. Then we have the second one. Under this secondary sector of production, we have the second one. We have the second one, which is handcraft industry. We have handcraft industry. So with this handcraft industry, it does not involve use of automated machines that use engines, machines that use electricity. No, with this sector, it does not use that. So it is using hands to manufacture or to transform raw materials into finished products. Here we can have like basket weaving. We can have pottery. Basket weaving, you know basket weaving? You know basket weaving? Whereby you can weave, where people who use some raw materials, then they weave, they make a basket. They make a basket. So basket weaving is under handcraft. So we look at things that are made by use of hands. You use clay, someone gets clay or sand, then manufactures or makes pots from there. So you say this does not use automated machines. It does not use automated machines. Does not use automated machines. Products are made by use of hands. Here, products are made or are manufactured, are made by use of hands. By use of hands. What are the examples now? By use of hands. Which by use of hands? E.g., you can have basket weaving, making baskets, basket weaving. Basket weaving. We can have pottery. We can have pottery. Pottery is what? This is making pots out of clay or sand, making pots out of clay or pots. So basket weaving is very, very, very important. It is under handcraft industry. Under handcraft industry. Are we together? Are we together? So we have agropastoral industry, we have handcraft industry, then we have the third one. We can have the manufacturing industry. The manufacturing industry. We have the manufacturing industry. So what does this one deal with, the manufacturing industry? Who can tell me what does the manufacturing industry deal with? Someone tell me, what does the manufacturing industry deal with? The manufacturing industry. So with the manufacturing industry, this deals with like the manufacture of medicine, chemical industries, textile industries, metal fabrications. All those ones are under manufacturing industries. So this is also under secondary sector of production. So this also, you can say this deals with manufacturing industry. This deals with manufacture. This sector deals with manufacture of, like, we can have maybe medicines, manufacture of like medicines. We can have like textile industries, clothes. We can have maybe like manufacturing some metals, etc. This one should be ready for consumption, for use. For example, they manufacture medicine and then you're sick, you use it, you consume it, then you get fine. So it is very, very, very important. It is very, very, very important. It is very, very important. Then we have what we call the agro-food processing industries. Agro-food processing industry. With this one, it transforms also the agricultural products into finished products ready for consumption. Like we have tinning, where food is maybe packed into tins. So this transforms agricultural products, majorly agricultural products into finished products. Like where you find that some foodstuffs are packed into tins, where you may go to the supermarket and you find that maybe there's some food that has been packed in some packaging materials, and more especially tins. So with the agro-food processing industry, this transforms agricultural products into finished products, like whereby you can transform fruits. If you have fruits, you transform them into juice. We have such industries. Even when it comes to this, even Inyanje transforms some fruits into finished products like juice. Nyirangarama Industries transforms fruits into some food like juice. You drink it by using fruits, which is an agricultural product, It is transformed into finished products like that, ready for consumption. Then we have, these are the four that we have under the secondary sector of production. So now we want to examine, is this secondary sector of production important to our economy? So what could be the importance? What could be the importance of secondary sector of production? Secondary sector of production. How is it important? The secondary sector of production. Does this one help? Does it contribute to the development of our country? One, it provides employment opportunities. It provides employment opportunities. It provides employment opportunities to the society members. This is one. Very many people will be employed. For example, if we look at the secondary sector production, where we said like these agro-pastoral industries, or even handcraft, the manufacturing industry and agro-food processing industries, they employ very many people. We have very many people working in Nyanja industries, many people employed by Nyirangarama, and those are all industries under secondary sector production. So there is provision of employment opportunities to the society members. Who can tell me another one? Because you know all that, then you can say it expands the tax base. It expands the tax base of the country. It expands the tax base of the country, which increases tax revenue. Which increases the tax revenue. The government gets taxes out of those industries because they'll be subjected to taxation. Even employees who are working there, they'll be subjected to personal income tax, and the government generates more money for public expenditure. Then you can talk about that the manufacturing sector, it facilitates infrastructure development. It facilitates infrastructure development. Infrastructure development. So there is development of infrastructure, e.g. roads, they'll be developed. Then you can say most of these products that are made, some of them are exported. So it expands or it promotes the export trade of a country, which increases foreign exchange earnings. So it promotes, the manufacturing sector promotes the export trade, of a country. It promotes the export trade of a country. And this increases foreign exchange earnings, which increases foreign exchange earnings, which increases foreign exchange earnings. So what do I mean here? Foreign exchange earnings. Foreign exchange earnings. For example, I want you to look at this. Exports. These are goods that a country sells to other countries. Goods leaving the country. When a country sells goods to other countries, it generates income from those goods sold to those countries. So that increases foreign exchange earnings. Those goods must be paid for by those countries receiving those goods from that country. So this promotes the export trade of a country, which increases foreign exchange earnings. So the manufacturing sector provides market for raw materials from the primary sector. I think you can see that. This is a very important point. The manufacturing sector, it provides markets. It provides markets for raw materials from primary sector. For raw materials from the primary sector. From the primary sector. So you must know that these sectors are interdependent. The primary sector, the secondary sector, so far, they are interdependent. The primary sector provides raw materials that are used by the secondary sector. And remember now, the secondary sector provides markets. Because if the primary sector produces and it doesn't get the market, then it gets demoralized. It cannot produce more. But since there are markets provided by the manufacturing sector, then development comes. So they are interdependent. They depend on each other. Then we have, even you can say, with this secondary sector of production, it provides finished products, or it provides goods. You can say finished products, it provides finished products. These are goods that are consumed by the society, that are consumed by the society, that are consumed by the society. Because, for example, if they manufacture, if Inyanja Industries, Nyirangarama Industries, who are under this secondary sector production, they will manufacture very many items, very many goods. For example, they will just transform milk into yogurt. We use yogurt, we consume it. Ghee, we consume it. Juice, we consume it. Water, we consume it. All those products are provided by this secondary sector of production. So, before we wind up this lesson, learners, I will leave you with some work that you will have to work out that you have to work out. So you have to write it. You have to write this work. I hope you get your books. You indicate this work. So number one, I want you to explain the difference. Remember, we talked about even primary sector of production, the difference between primary sector of production, primary sector of production, and secondary sector of production. And secondary sector of production. That's our question one. Then under question two, I want you to explain the components of the secondary sector production. The components. What activities, what do we find under the secondary sector production? The components of secondary sector of production. Then question 3, analyze the contribution, analyze the laws or the contributions of secondary sector of production, secondary sector of production to development, the development of your country, the development of your country. So these are 3 questions which you should put down right now as we wind up. One, you have to explain the difference between primary sector of production and secondary sector of production. Then you continue, question 2, you explain the components of secondary sector production. What do we find? What is entailed under secondary sector of production? Then question 3, I want you to analyze the laws, the contribution of the secondary sector production to development of your country. In other words, why is it vital to have the secondary sector production, the manufacturing sector? So you have to analyze that, its contributions, then at least you give out like 6 or 7 contributions. So try to wind it up, then as we conclude our today's lesson. So thank you very much for listening, for paying attention, for watching. We shall meet in the next lesson with the tertiary sector of production as we wind up this unit number 5. Hope by the end of today you have known what secondary is, what is under secondary, and why it is important. Thank you very much. Stay cool.